Hi, I'm Michael with Drinks for He and She. As we get closer to opening He and She by Rachel Crothers, I'm going through the list of characters and coming up with a signature period cocktail for each one of them and showing you how to make it. Tonight is Millicent. Millicent is Anne and Tom's 16-year-old daughter. She's a precocious, loving, spoiled little goblin child. Something of a walking hurricane that takes over conversation whatever room she enters, and everyone loves her. But regardless of what she may think, she is a child. Because the purpose of these videos has been to teach you to make period cocktails, this presents a bit of a challenge, especially since my first choice for her was the obvious, the Shirley Temple. Unfortunately, our play takes place in 1920 and Miss Temple wasn't born until 1928, and the drink wasn't invented until the mid-30s. However, especially with Prohibition going into effect in that year, there was a popular alternative in those days for drinking at social gatherings. With the wider availability of fruit and juices than in previous generations, this was something of a heyday for punch. Since Millicent is a desperately social creature who lives for social events and being entertained, this will be the perfect alternative for her. So, for Millicent, I have chosen the Manhattan Punch. The recipe I stumbled across while researching this video reads as follows. Boil 2 cups of sugar with 1 cup water about 10 minutes and cool. Mix the juice of 5 oranges, 5 lemons, 1 can of grated pineapple or 1 fresh pineapple grated, 1 cup of tea, and 2 cups of strawberry syrup. When all blended, strain and pour into a punch bowl with enough ice water to make 1.5 gallons of punch. Just before serving, add 1 quart of Apollinaris, that's roughly a sparkling water, and decorate with strawberries or preserved cherries. This will be sufficient for 50 people. If I'm going to follow this recipe, I'm going to need to make some adjustments. First of all, I don't want 50 servings of a punch sitting around the house. So instead of making a batch, let's approach this as a mocktail. If we monkey with the proportions and scale it way down, make a few substitutions in order to bring a little extra flavor to the party, and the finished recipe looks something like this. 1/4 ounce orange juice, 1/5 ounce of lemon juice, 1/4 ounce pineapple juice, 2 teaspoons of grenadine, 1 teaspoon of high concentrate simple syrup, and 1 dash of bitters, and 3 ounces of sparkling water garnished with a strawberry or a cherry. Before getting started mixing the mocktail, a word about grenadine. Now, if you've ever tasted quality grenadine, you will never ever be satisfied with the bright pink stuff you find at the grocery store, which is basically just dyed and flavored high fructose corn syrup. The real thing is dark and sweet and tart. Fortunately, making the real thing is almost as easy as making simple syrup. Here's a basic recipe to start with. There are all kinds of variations online. 1 cup of pomegranate juice, no sugar added, 1 cup of sugar, 1/4 teaspoon of lemon juice, and 2 to 3 drops of orange flower water. Now to make this, you heat up the pomegranate juice on the stove, but do not let it boil. As soon as you see bubbles forming around the edge of the pan, take the pan off the heat and turn off the stove. Next, mix in the sugar and stir until fully combined. It will probably take about 5 minutes. Then you stir in the lemon juice and the orange flower water and let it cool. Put it in a container with a tightly sealing lid and keep it in the refrigerator, and it should be good for about a month. And much like simple syrup, the high concentrate simple syrup is made the same way. But in this case, it's 2 parts sugar to 1 part water. And again, you can add a little bit of vodka to make it last longer in the fridge. Alright, let's get started mixing our mocktail. We've got our ingredients assembled. Let's get started. We'll start with picking the glass. Now, most glass options are going to work. I actually like a highball glass for a mocktail, although the wine glass works perfectly fine. It's perfectly acceptable. Same with the rocks glass, but let's go ahead and stick with this one for now. And let's start with the juices. So I'm going to need 1/4 ounce of pineapple juice. There we go. and 1/4 ounce of orange juice. And then 1/5 ounce of lemon juice. And we need our syrups. So I will need 1 teaspoon of high concentrate simple syrup. There it is. And 2 teaspoons of grenadine. I'm going to put in 1 dash of bitters. What I'm using is crude bitters. This is the Rizzo, which is grapefruit and rosemary and peppercorn. That looks about right. Call it 6 drops or so. Let's give this a stir with our bar spoon. And next, let's add some ice. There we go. And then top it with seltzer. Now, I'm actually going to use a flavored seltzer, mainly because my SodaStream air ran out. Give this a little bit of a stir to make sure it's all incorporated. And lastly, garnish with a cherry. Perfect. All right, and here we have Millicent's Manhattan Punch.